We're back, BookTrib.com and Merrill Moss Media at the Westport Library for the Flex event for our last interview of the day. Always save the best for last. We have Marilyn Simon Rothstein with Husbands and Other Sharp Objects, which the title is just interesting enough. I've never been married, so I wouldn't know, but you have this character who is going through a divorce, has a boyfriend who wants to be committed, she doesn't want to be committed, and in the midst of all this, she's planning a wedding for her daughter who's secretly engaged to the attorney of the husband she's divorcing.
Yes. The first book I wrote was called Lift and Separate. And the reason it's called Lift and Separate is because my protagonist's husband, Harvey Hammer, is the bra czar. He owns a business called Bountiful Bosom. He wholesales and retails bras. And after 33 years of marriage, he walks away with a 22-year-old brassiere model, size 32 double D, which leaves Marcy in a lot of pain and gives her a lot of problems, obviously. And I wanted to write about how a woman gathers her strength, leans on her family and her friends, to rise above an unexpected, very terrible situation in life. Marcy is a woman who gave up her career and to move to Connecticut with her husband and brought up her 3 children, and she is now looking forward to this wonderful free life, and she winds up with a husband who walks out. Husbands and Other Sharp Objects, one of the reasons I named it that was I find that very often the sharpest objects around are the ones you love the most. Because nobody can hurt you the way someone you love can hurt you. And that's where the Husbands and Other Sharp Objects comes from.
Well, this is a very realistic story because you have quite a few women who go through this. They have their own careers. They get married. They have husbands with very professional careers. They devote a lot of their time and energy into supporting their husbands, raising their children, and thinking, okay, you know what? The nest is about to be empty. Now it's just us again, and we get to know each other on a different level, kind of like when we were first together. And then all of a sudden, one person pulls away, and it's usually the person that hasn't had to sacrifice a whole lot of themselves and their personality. So how did you address that with this particular character, but also allow her to find herself? Like, again.
Well, people often ask me, are you divorced? Is that how you came to this? And I'm not divorced, but my husband often wishes we were. And then he asked, well, how long are you married? Are you married as long as Marcy? Marcy's married 33 years, and my husband and I have had fights that lasted that long. So that tells you what my status is. I write about things that don't necessarily happen to me, but that I just have a keen interest in exploring the emotional way that things have to be handled and how you find the strength to rise up and say, okay, I'm in this unexpected situation. Never thought this would happen to me in my life, which is something Marcy says to her daughter, because when her daughter is getting married in Husband and Other Sharp Objects, she says to her daughter, you know, don't you worry about your fiance. You know, what happened to you what happened to me could happen to you. And her daughter said, oh, it would never happen to me.
Right.
So I just am interested in how people rise up and take control and find that there are other people they can lean on to get through something.
Yeah, and you know, the character of Marcy is relatable even if you haven't been through this. There are other aspects of her being a woman that you can relate to. For example, I think about my daughter's going to graduate from high school in 2 years, and I don't know what to do with that. And so, you know, her kids grown up, getting married, you don't know what to do with that because you've spent so much time being mom.
Yes.
So now it's like, back to being you. And she's in that kind of situation, even with dating again.
Yes, when she you know, it's like everybody, the kids move out, but you're still there. Then her husband moves out, but she's still there. So all of a sudden you have to figure out, where am I going? Because just staying there no longer works.
Right.
And that's where she is in this book. The complication is that as she finally decides that she's going to divorce him, he decides he wants her back, and her daughter becomes secretly engaged to Harvey's attorney. So it's sort of like out of the line in The Godfather, they keep pulling me back in.
Right.
And, but she does have a boyfriend, and there's a romantic scheme to the book as well.
But she's not sure she wants to, when she finds out for herself what it's like, she's not sure she wants to be back in a marriage, right?
Yes, which to me is very interesting, because here she is someone who, more than loving her husband, she loved being married. And when she meets somebody new, and he is, she feels like she's being cornered, and she's not ready. And how does she deal with that? And all of her friends are trying to rush her to go out and date. In fact, her best friend, Dana, calls her up and says, I have someone for you. And Marcy goes, oh, no, no, no. And she says, yeah, my dermatologist's wife died. So they're really scratching the ground looking for her. But she has to make the journey she wants to make.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes people find out that they don't necessarily want to be coupled. And that's one of the things that you kind of learn from this. So Lift and Separate was the first. Husbands and Other Sharp Objects. What's next?
My next book, which I'm working on, is a story of a mother and two daughters. The mother is aged. The story's told by one of the daughters, and it's humorous, and it's a family story, and those are the things that I'm interested in. I love stories about families. Give me a family that's falling apart, and I am done for. I could read all night.
Family drama is always the best drama, right?
Yes.
Husbands and Other Sharp Objects by Marilyn Simon Rothstein. And we are so happy to have you. We'll definitely have to have you on BookTrib.com again, because you're local, so that's great.
Oh, I'd love that. I'd love that. And it's wonderful to be in Westport and to see the new library here. That's going to be phenomenal.
Yes, it is.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.